So this training is good for anyone. The earlier you start education process, the better. A section of my resident contract that I use for my clients, and I'm going to briefly explain, because even though you may not be at a phase where you're implementing all of this, but imagine if you know about it now, and then when you're at the phase where you're implementing, it's just like secondary knowledge. So we're going to cover your marketing, how to market online and offline, because I do feel like for you to be able to bring in income, it gets expensive for the money that you're not bringing in if you don't do the proper marketing strategies. And even though visibility is expensive, there are some things you can do that don't require that you have so much money. So we're going to cover preparing financially before admitting new residents. And I'm going to show you how you can use it to make sure you're able to properly negotiate yourself with the resident and their families, especially when they're coming from home. It's a different ball game. We're going to briefly cover Medicaid in managed care basics, some of the plans that you can enroll. When do you apply for Medicaid? How does that work? Stuff like that. And I'm going to have a follow-up back end video where I will show you how to apply for Medicaid, what documents you need to submit. I will show you what that back end process is. So I'll be doing somebody's Medicaid application for you to learn that. We'll cover the plans, the credentialing, which is the applying process. And we're going to cover how to host an open house. And there will be another video for the open house where I recorded that video already. I'm going to give you access to it, where you can learn how to host your open house and building relationships with placement agents, hospitals in the community, and tracking the measures that work for you. Everybody will have their own measures as to what you prefer to do. Not everything will be for everyone, but there's so much you can do that you just got to get started. How to submit your waivers, positioning private pay versus Medicaid, price objections. I'm going to show you what my area of my contract is, where I break down everything so that it can be clear for you to be confident enough to say, these are my prices and I'm standing by them. And then setting up a payment system. So most people who are here are people who have just opened or are in the very beginning phases of opening. And I like these lines a lot. Compliance keeps you open, revenue keeps you operating. So compliance and revenue go hand in hand. Both of them are equally important. I find in my caregivers, they are focused on compliance and providing the care, but they're not too focused about the revenue. Know that the revenue is just so we're going to cover ways to fill up your beds, licensed, but you don't have any clients yet, and perhaps you've been licensed for a while and you don't know how to get clients, or you don't have the education yet, or you're not even licensed yet. You're in the very beginning phases. Preparing before you actually admitting a new residence. So that aspect of your revenue area is basically you knowing, how much do I want to charge for my bed? Once you decide how much you want to charge, and don't lowball yourself. Once you decide how much you want to charge and how much you should be charged, perhaps it's not even how much you want to charge. For those who say, oh, I feel bad to charge this amount. How much you should be charging on average. And this is based on, I licensed a client in Palm Bay, and we had this conversation. And when he admitted his first client that was paying him $5,000 was when he actually believed that he can actually do this. Okay. So don't lowball yourself. Know that The seniors already have the money to pay you. What they are looking for is a place where they can feel safe, is a place where their families can feel like I can go on vacation leaving mom here. So decide how much you're going to charge, nowhere lower than 4,000, okay? And that is for your shared bed. If you were to say, I'm going to charge 4,000 for my shared bed and I have 6 clients, now you know this is your revenue. This is your potential revenue right there. Okay. Now, if you say, I'm going to charge for my private room, I'm going to charge 6,500 or even 7,000. Now, I know for some people, they'll say, oh, I think 5,000 is a good number. Well, if that makes you feel good, then let 5,000 be that good number, right? But then decide, okay, I'm going to have four rooms that I'm going to add. Let's say if you had a 5-bedroom house, I'm going to let these be semi-private rooms where I put 2 people in there. And there is one room that I'm going to keep. Perhaps that room have its own shower, it have its own bathroom. I'm going to make this my private room. Now you know this is X amount. When you are full, this is what you're going for, to fill up your bed so you can bring X amount of revenue. That is your financial planning. You already know what you're looking for. Now it's just a matter of attracting the residents that will pay you that amount, okay? And positioning yourself so that when you do get those clients, that you are not your biggest pain. You present yourself accordingly. You can say, we charge 4,000 for this shared room, and we do require a non-refundable of 4,000. And the reason behind this is because we have to prep to receive your mom. We have to make sure we have time to actually get to know her, to prep to receive her personally. And this is common everywhere. This is not just at my ALF. Everywhere you go, this is how they do it. It's true. I have relationship with the larger setting where they have 200 beds, and they are doing the same thing. And then they don't even accept Medicaid, and people come and pay them. So it's just you being confident in what you're charging. And once they see that confidence and they know this is not you trying to take advantage of me, this is you doing your job. And if you have some pushes, typically when you have people that are coming from home, they will want to have an explanation as to why, because they haven't been exposed to the senior care industry yet. And they want you to explain it. Explain it. Take your time, explain it. Don't get into your feelings. They're not questioning you. They're questioning the fee because they don't understand that. Separate the two, right? But those who are coming from an ALF before, perhaps they were at a larger setting and now they need more ADLs and they're coming to you. It's a no-brainer. They're used to that. Also, establish your payroll system or your timing. Establish, okay, between me and my wife, for example, I think we're going to cover these shifts. We might need to hire one caregiver to help us and establish when that caregiver will work, and that's your timing. So now you're paying yourself, you're paying your wife, and then you're paying that one caregiver. So you've already established how much you need to make, who you need to hire, whether you're going to be, what shift you're going to be working, and all of that play a factor into your income. Okay. And then that one caregiver you're gonna pay, establish how you're going to pay them. For me personally, I used QuickBooks, and of course, QuickBooks is not sponsoring this. QuickBooks, you probably should sponsor this. Okay, I'm just joking. Use QuickBooks. QuickBooks, they're very easy to use. They have customer service. You call them, they'll help you set up. Like I used to W-2 myself, and then I used to 1099 my other employees. They'll help you figure all of that out. Okay, so figure out how you're gonna pay. For your monthly expenses for your food, your dietitian will give you your menu. It is not so expensive what she put on there, but treat your residents like you want to treat yourself and your family members. So feed them, make sure that they don't eat a lot anyway. And sometimes even outside of the times that they're supposed to eat, that's when they want to eat. So establish how much that is. And the way that you know, when you shop for your emergency management food supply and you stack everything, your daily menu. So in your menus, you will have your daily menu, which is what you're supposed to feed your client every day. Let me put a note to myself to show you what that looked like. And then your disaster menu, which will show you what you need to have on hand for your current census. So if you're licensed for 6 residents, for example, and currently you're new, you only have 1 or 2 residents, you need to have what you need to have for that 1 or 2 residents. But what most people have done, and what I've personally done, is I shop for all of my emergency food supply for my however many residents. And then after that, you're just maintaining, because you are going to use some of those same food supplies as part of your daily food supplies, because if you let them sit there, they will expire. All of that will determine your cash flow. When you account for what your mortgage is, what your light bill is, all of those things, now you have your financial cushion. And you need to know, like, I need my residents to pay me a minimum of $4,000, for example, for me to make all of this work. One thing I want you to write down is, do not admit a resident without understanding how and when you will be paid. Okay. I can't tell you how many times some of my newbies have done this. And the way that it works is, a hospital or a larger ALF will call them, and they're so excited to bring that resident in. They go, they do the assessment. They don't go over the resident income, their sources of money, where their money is coming from. They rush and they take the resident. And then when it's time for them to get paid, and the resident is like, no, I can't afford this. But you never discussed it, how much money the resident have, how much is your minimum that you are willing to accept. And so how do you accept for this person to be able to pay you? And now when it's time to discharge that person because they can't pay your fee and you cannot afford to shelter them and house them for free, you're going to have a hard time, because any administrator who are educated, they're not going to take that resident from you. And a lot of times newbies fall into that trap because they're so excited to bring in that first resident and they forget all the rules. Okay. So make sure you know how your residents are going to be paid. Medicaid. So there are, when you get your ALF license, you will have to apply for Medicaid. You will need to have your EIN number, your license, your NPI number. You will need to also have your background check, which you already have already. And you go online, you submit the Medicaid application. And I will do a video on this of me completing somebody's application so that you can see what that looked like. Once you apply to be a Medicaid provider, because that's what you're doing, once you become a provider, the process itself takes about 30 days for you to be approved. Once you become a provider, that's when you can enroll into a Medicaid plan. Both you and your client have to enroll into the plan. So some of the most common ones are simply, I believe, as they pay the most. But there are so many others. So after you are approved for a Medicaid provider, your client is also approved to receive Medicaid. Both you and your client are in the same plan, and now you can charge Medicaid for the care that you are providing for that client, not the housing, but the care. Medicaid itself never fully pay for the client's fees. For your fees, let's say if your fees are $4,000 for a shared room, Medicaid will never pay you $4,000. The most I think that is out there right now, I think is like $1,975. So the client end up paying you some money out of pocket for this to work. So Medicaid never pay for the full rental fee because they are only providing the payment for the care that you're providing, okay? That is your Medicaid waiver program. So what that would look like, every month you would submit your, there's a form that you have to submit. They'll give you a specific date. You have to submit it by the 5th. And then with the amount that that specific Medicaid plan will cover. For example, if it's $1,975, you'll submit that that waiver to Medicaid. Sometimes it's by email. Sometimes you got to log in to that specific plan's portal to submit it. You sign it, you submit it, and it gets sent. Sometimes in the beginning, payments are delayed because they are processing and they have a lot going on, I assume, but they don't send the payment right away. Know that they will pay you as long as you submitted the document. They will pay you, okay? So pick a plan. The more plan you pick, the better, because you'll have different clients that are enrolled in different plans, and different plans will pay different amounts. But once you become a Medicaid provider, you can enroll into those other plans. And all it is you filling out that specific plan provider application. It's a separate application from the Medicaid. And then they process you. The same information you need for Medicaid is to apply for Medicaid is the same information you need to apply for the plans. And then once you apply, you're eligible. Both you and your client have the same plan, and now you can bill it, okay? Most common misunderstanding is basically people feel that if they apply for Medicaid, they're going to bill Medicaid directly. You're not billing Medicaid directly, you're billing the plan that is going to pay you on behalf of Medicaid. So Medicaid is pretty much the umbrella. The plan is what pays you. So you apply for Medicaid, your client applied for Medicaid. Now both of you pick a plan, and then the plan is the one that will pay on behalf of the client. The plan is the one that will pay you as the provider. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So now you have to decide. Really, you shouldn't decide because it is in your best interest to have Medicaid, because if you find a client that could not pay you $4,000, but then they have Medicaid and you are already a Medicaid provider, now it's just a matter of the client using their Medicaid to pay you the difference. The other thing is sometimes a client will come to you and they don't have your Medicaid plan. Let's say they have a plan that you are not a provider for that plan. That client has to be able to pay you your full monthly dues, because their plan will not pay you until you become a provider. Once you become a provider with their plan, that's when their plan will begin to pay you. They won't pay you for anything before that. So you have to make sure when you're assessing the client's payability that you, and they say they have Medicaid, that you are also considering all of that. On average, it can take about 30 days for you to get everything up and running. We talked about applying for Medicaid plans, simply, for example, different plans that you have to apply. The applications are submitted via emails to whoever the point of contact for that plan is. Sometimes they are submitted online. It's different from plans to plans, okay?
Hey, Carlene, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Do you encourage, I love this masterclass, by the way. Thank you for all this knowledge. So do you encourage us to apply for all these different plans in advance, or just wait until we receive a client that is also in that plan?
Once you get your ALF license, you should apply for all of those plans.
Okay,
because
great.
You never know. That was a great question. You never know when you're going to get a client. And when you get a client that have a plan and you already approved for that plan, it's just a matter of making life easier for yourself and for your client. Because now imagine if this client can save $1975, for example, because you already had all your stuff together. You know, that could even make or break the deal. If someone really didn't have the money, and then you didn't have the plan, and you know you needed to apply, now you have two choices. You could either lose that difference and keep that client, which is a lot of time, this is what I personally would do if the client truly could not pay and I really wanted that client. Or you can not take the client and the client go somewhere else. So these are the things that you'll have to navigate. I covered the time expectations. Usually around by the 30th day, you should be able to apply. You have to be able to also coordinate with case managers. Sometimes a client would be in a hospital, for example, and they don't have Medicaid. And if the case manager from the hospital submit their Medicaid application, that tend to keep the process moving a lot faster than if the client were to do it themselves. So knowing that in advance, if you have a family member who calls you and say, mom needs an ALF and this is X amount, what her income is, this is what we can afford. You might say, have you thought about applying for Medicaid? And if mom is still in the hospital, typically when someone is coming from home to you, it's because something unfortunately terribly happened, where mom is still in the hospital, and daughter knows she can't really take care of her. She has too much going on. And now they need to find an ALF. So when mom gets discharged from the hospital, mom can enter that ALF. Well, if you know, if Medicaid can help you take this client so you can take care of them, you may want to let the family know, how about you apply for Medicaid? And by the way, if you speak to mom's case manager at the hospital, they can start the process for you. Of course, we have elder care lawyers and all these people that can also help with that. But they can get the process started from the hospital, and that tend to make the process move a lot quicker, and you can take that resident. Okay. Application delays. Sometimes if you don't submit the proper information, you're gonna get delayed. And remember, your goals are, until you start bringing clients, you're not making money. So that also means payment delay. And oftentimes too, when you submit your form to receive your payment for the month, for those clients that you have that are qualified, if you make a mistake and you forgot to submit it on time before the 5th, that have happened to me before, you could be in a very good cadence where Medicaid is paying you on time. The minute you fall off that cadence, and now you're going to get delayed. So do your best to submit paperwork on time, add it to your calendar, put your alerts, and all of these things. We covered the credentialing, what documents you will need to become a provider. The process really begins after the process of getting paid really begins after you are qualified for Medicaid, you have the proper plan, and your client have the same plan as you, and then you're able to bill Medicaid, okay? So before you have occupancy, before you onboard client, you need to be able to put those things in place. So now we're going to cover any questions about what I just covered so far.
Only question that I had was, I love that you first started talking about how do we decide on how much we're going to charge. Do you have like certain areas that you do your research just to see, okay, what are the demographics? What do most of the current ALFs currently charge? Is there like a certain hub where you can gather some of that data before you just look at, okay, based upon how much my rent is, how much my mortgage is going to be, what are my minimums? What do I have to cover? But what is the market calling for? Do you have like certain areas or websites that you recommend that we look at to look at the data of it before we look at what we would potentially be responsible for our mortgage?
No, I don't have that data, but I will tell you the way that you find out is you call around, and even that, you can do it just so that you know how much everybody else is charging. Mm-hmm. But there are some areas, like I had a client, for example, that got licensed in an area where everybody was just lowballing themselves. And she opened up this beautiful ALF, and she's like, if everybody is charging that. So we did her open house, and while I was there, and I'm like, okay, she already know how much she needed to charge based on our conversation. You're not going to lowball yourself. But then once she did her open house, others in the area came, and she started joining these groups, and everybody was telling her, you are charging what? You're crazy. Nobody going to pay you that in this area. And so she really had a hard time. She's like, Carlene, I think I made a mistake. This is not going to work. And I'm like, no, let's come up with a different strategy. And she did. When I tell you, she was getting clients that were paying her like $5,000 plus, and in the same area where people were telling her that she would never be able to get that kind of money. So I'm using this as an example to tell you, when you do your due diligence, do it with a grain of salt, okay? Because if you market where those residents who are able to pay you they will come to you. So perhaps the strategy would be, in your area, where do you need to market to get your ideal client? Once you establish where you need to market to get your ideal client, now you're going to send them door-to-door marketing, right? You're going to make sure you invite them to your open house. You're going to do your ads. You're going to run your ads within that area. You're going to make sure these people see you on a day-to-day basis. And then when they need an ALF, it's a no-brainer that they're coming to you because they've seen you before. They've heard of you. And that was one of the strategies that my clients use. And believe it or not, now she's looking for another ALF, another building to open another ALF within that same area that she was so nervous about, because everybody was telling her, there's no way you're going to get that kind of money in this area. What? Yeah. Tell your coach she's wrong. And I'm like, go tell them you're not wrong, and we're going to prove them wrong, right?
Get rid of those naysayers and you show them what you're going to do, right?
Exactly. So, it's do your research, call the larger setting, call a few of the smaller setting, look at how you position yourself, look at how nice your building is, and go for the number you deserve, because those clients are there, and they want to pay you because they want a higher quality of life. They want moms, last few years to be memorable. And oftentimes the children, they feel guilty because they can't take care of mom. So if they can find a good place to leave mom, and mom have the money to pay, money is not even the question. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Great question, by the way. Open house. So when you first open, and we have a marketing plan, I have a training on it separately, which I'll grant access to that video. And if I have time today, I'll go into some of the things on here. I'll show you what that looks like. But your focus, even throughout getting licensed, should be, what am I going to do to bring that first client in? Your open house is one way that you can implement your marketing plan and push that traffic to your open house, and have someone at the door to get their contact information so you can follow up. You will have a lot of people who will attend because, they're either in the process of getting an ALF or they're curious. But those same people, if they don't even open for themselves, may know someone who need an ALF, will send them to you. So doing an open house is a really good strategy. So you would implement your marketing plan where you're going to do Facebook ads. You're going to set up your pages, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And you're going to pick a date, and you're going to push all the traffic to the open house. And after the open house, you want to have a email marketing software. I like to recommend Flowdesk because it's so easy to use. And you're going to put all this information in, and you're going to do your follow-ups, making sure that people are remembering you and you stay top of mind. You invite the community, go to your local churches, do flyers, go there and invite them to come in, see the open house, let them know eventually you will need staff, and you're opening. Even before the open house, I like to say, find the top 5 churches in your area, let them go and be nosy and see your ALF that you're in the process of opening. Because what do church have? Church have everybody. Everybody goes to church on Sunday, okay? And that's one way you can start filtering the traffic. And every church have a WhatsApp group. For example, my cleaner, she moved away. I reach out to one person from a church, and I say, I need somebody to help me, keep the house tidy up and X, Y, and Z. And she did one WhatsApp post interviewing a whole bunch of people from the church. Okay, it could be just that easy. You find someone, and I found that person online. I happened to Google the church, and I called, and she was the person who answered the phone, and she handled those things, and I developed a relationship with her. And over the years, she's been my go-to for getting, whether it's employees. When I manage, she would help me find CNAs, home health aide, to work at my ALF. And then when I stopped managing, like personally, she's helping me find someone to help me out. So like, you find one church and you develop a relationship, it's tremendous help. So have a flow for your tour. So as more people comes in, know how you're gonna start, what corner you're gonna start, how you're gonna go around, because it helps to give you confidence. Okay, when you tour, you show people your business. Your follow-up structure, email, software, CRM. Flowdesk is a good one. You can even YouTube it. You'll see how people are using it. When you have conversations, make sure you are also filtering who's who, you know. So what brought you here? Do you have an older parent? Are you looking for an ALF anytime soon? Tell me a little bit about yourself, little stuff like that. So you can start knowing who's here and who you need to put a star next to. You know, maybe you want to, you know, do a phone call. And you want to know what happens after someone tore your ALF. What do you want them to do next? Do you want them to keep you top of mind? Do you want to say something like, well, if you know anyone who needs a good home for their loved one, please send them my way. You know, save my contact on your phone, so that, you know, put ALF nearby. So next time, if you can't remember our name, give them something tangible that they can walk away with down the road. When they know someone who needs an ALF, they remember how to search you on their phone. Okay. Building relationships, all of that play a factor. With placement agents, we know placement agents are pretty much professionals who have relationships with the hospitals, the nursing homes, all of the things that you can do yourself, and you should do yourself. In the beginning, you want to have relationship with placement agents because you need time to actually develop those relationships. And placement agents already have the time. They already have those relationships and they can bring you those clients right now. Basically, they have relationship. And remember, everybody is getting paid, if you know what I mean. So when a placement agent professional come to you, they bring you a client that is eligible to pay your fees. Treat that placement agent like gold, because that placement agent is going to have to go back, and I am speculating, and may have to pay or reward the people who helped them find this lead. And so the sooner you're able to pay this placement agent, the sooner this placement agent can maintain their relationship, and the placement agent will see you in a better light. And so make sure you're taking care of the placement agent. One of them can fill up your whole business and help you open another ALF, okay, if they have the right relationships. Outreach strategies are not just the online footprints that you'll have, which the marketing strategies will cover, but also go out physically and meet people, and put yourself in rooms where those people are, and be able to find them. Even something as simple as searching placement agents near me, senior advisors near me. They have different names. When I got into the business, I had to build everything from scratch, and so I had to use different strategies as to how am I going to find these people to help me. And those were some of the strategies that I used. Searching placement agents, senior advisors, senior counselors. They use different names to brand themselves, but it's placement, okay? Also ask them if, let's say in your church, you know someone who have a clinic, for example, ask them if you could put your flyer there. Ask them if they know a senior that came but may need some help. And ask them if they can share your information with that senior. Oftentimes they can't really share the senior's information with you. And have your follow-up meetings. Develop long-term referral relationships, placement agents, and other people in the community. Like if you have the rehab centers in your area, there was one that I used to farm, and I had relationships there, and then they changed the team. So you have to continuously go there, bring a little gift, sometimes a little cup and then a little note, some things about your business, whether it's a business card or flyer. Even if they say the person is not there when you go to visit, leave something for that person, and also treat the person who's in the front desk, because they can give you a phone call and they just walk in. Do you want to talk to them now? If you treated them right, they'll do that for you. This section will cover tracking your lead sources with your email marketing. One way that you can make the most out of this, because as you grow, you will need to change software, is to have, for example, a Google spreadsheet with all of your contacts in there, and then all you're doing is uploading. And then you're able to do the automations on the back end. Okay. We covered submitting your waivers, required documentations, and also tracking, because if you are not aware that the payment went through and it hit your account, sometimes you may not know that Medicaid skip you a month, and it have been known that sometimes Medicaid will not pay you for a month. And if you don't know that to follow up and make sure they pay you, you might not get paid. Not because they're not going to pay you, but it requires your attention. Confirm everything is authorized, that both you and your client are still up to par. We do know that with Medicaid, you need to reapply every 3 years. And your client also need to reapply. So make sure their process is valid and stay valid, and keep everything tracked. We covered private paid versus Medicaid. So private paid is basically someone writing you a check. Medicaid is you are qualified, your clients are qualified, they will give you the difference. We covered payment structures, also revenue stability. So the more people you have, the more client you'll end up getting, and making sure that you have a plan for when a resident passes away. You could be at full capacity, and then a resident passes away. You need to have your lineups, who you're gonna call, who you're gonna email, all of those things you want to have. Price objections. So for price objection, I kind of went over that earlier. With family members coming from home, you will have the most objections from them because they are not used to what you are providing to them. I want to see if I can show you this at this time. Let me see. So this is the resident agreement my lawyer put together for my clients. And I want to show you this section. So you see this section here. These are what your fees are. So for double occupancy, which is a shared room, you're going to put what the amount will be. And then when the client move in, 3 days before the client move in, you're going to have your resident agreement signed. You're going to have your power of attorney. Who's making decisions for that client is who's going to sign this. And all of this is already going to be cleared. So what your fees are, any additional fees, typically for the smaller setting, whatever they pay monthly is their fee. There is no additional fees. And if it's a shared room, so you're only going to have one of these sections filled out. If it's a double occupancy, whatever that is, if it's a single occupancy, whatever that amount is, any additional fees, you're going to put right here. But remember, typically there's no additional fees. And then a one-time only non-refundable deposit. Okay, here. You're going to put that here. So the client will pay you for 2 months. It's not a deposit. It's a non-refundable fee. Okay, and then the total comes down here. This is where you would have your most objections. Practice in the mirror how you're going to respond to these. But remember, you can do it in your services that you provide. Okay, but just make sure that you have all of this information ready, and you have already practiced yourself as to how you're going to say what. But whatever you do, don't get upset. The minute you get upset, you're going to lose that client. Okay. Stay confident. You know, you can say the same thing over and over in different ways. And this have happened to me where that person really did not want to give that non-refundable and they were coming from home. The non-refundable also protect you. Sometimes a placement agent will bring you a client, and if you pay them the minute you get paid, which is what I recommend, you're taking a couple of risks with that. Like the resident may pass away before that 30 days. But if your goals are to maintain a good relationship with that placement agent, I personally don't see that as a risk. In the non-refundable help you, typically you're supposed to give the resident family the rest of their money back prorated, but oftentimes they don't even want that money from you if they felt good while mom and dad was with you. Okay. So avoid giving discounts and avoid making it seem like what they're paying is exactly what they're getting. No, they're getting a lot more than that. This is just what you need to keep the business running so you can keep your doors open to provide the care that your clients need. So if you know you're someone who are not so good with like that aspects of things, start practicing in the mirror right now. Why should I pay you this? You know, why can't you just waive that? Can we make it half? And sometimes even the placement professionals, even though they don't want the family to know that they are charging you a fee, they're charging you a fee to bring you this client. They don't want the client to know that they are charging a fee. And sometimes, like I had to help a client of mine negotiate the terms, and he was telling me the placement agent was telling the family, yeah, I think they could waive it right there. And the placement agent know that he has to pay him. So if I'm not charging the family and I have to pay you, am I taking care of this client for free? Is it fair for me to do all this work for free? So it's like, come on, Mr. Placement Agent, you better be on my side, because there's no way I'm paying you yet I am taking care of a whole person for free. Like, is that fair? So sometimes you have to stand firm with your placement agent, and perhaps after they leave, you can make a phone call. You can say, can we be on the same team? Could you not be against me? Because, you know, I didn't think that was fair, you know. But nonetheless, I helped my client negotiate that. And I really didn't appreciate that the placement agent tried to do that. So you'll receive your deposits before a client move in, ideally 3 days before they move in. You'll have your non-refundable money that they have to pay you, and don't waive that. And you'll have your payment schedules. Do your best to have them pay you on the 1st or by the 5th. So sometimes if they're moving in the middle of the month, you'll have to prorate what your fees are to make sure that they're able to be on a monthly cadence where everybody is paying you around the same time, and you could properly plan. Have late fees, policies for late fees, and if we help you get licensed, you'll have that on there as well. And I have had to charge the late fees where at first you start to work things out with the family member, and then you realize they just don't want to pay me on time. And if God forbid that resident pass away and they haven't paid you, you may struggle to get that money. So you have to make sure that you are getting paid on a timely manner because everything depends on it. Everything is in writing. Make sure that there is no verbal agreement outside of your resident contract. If you need to add something, have a addendum be created and have all parties sign it. You will have to raise your fees once every year. You have to let the family know at least 30 days in advance, in writing and all of those things. Um, and you can continue with the same resident agreement. You will add another addendum for the new fee that you're charging. Okay. Implementation. So can everybody promise me you will find something that you can do after you get off this call, even if it means that you're gonna practice your pitches for your price objections, and see how you're gonna better position yourself. I'd love for you guys to take this training and actually implement it. Before I get into if we have any more questions, the next class, we're going to cover the move-in process. We're going to cover how to admit your first residents, the 1823 form, what it should look like, in some pitfalls to avoid. What to verify before they actually move into your ALF, understanding power of attorneys, the role of hospice, and how they can help you keep your residents even after a resident no longer fit your admission criteria. Today we covered the resident agreement, some things in it, but we'll go over some essential. Today we covered the price objection part of it. And so this is what we're going to cover for the next one, even resident rights and complaints and how to deal with those things. Any questions? I think we're right on time. I love when we can end on time. Do we have any questions? So I'm going to record that Medicaid application, and you'll be able to complete your own Medicaid application, and then you'll know exactly what you need to do. And then after you've approved, and you can pick a plan. Yeah, any questions? What was the most what was one thing that you guys found most that stuck out to you from this training?
So what was most impactful for me was to make sure I do my due diligence, like you said, as far as the marketing, to see how much I want to be able to charge as I start to fill my home once I finally purchase it. So doing more of that, and then the more knowledge that I will have, I'll be able to speak more confidently when I ask for the true value of the monthly premium for what I'll be charging for my residents.
Love that. Love that. Um,
I have one question.
yes, go ahead.
Um, like some places like in my area, a lot of people like say if you charge a price, is like they want to be all inclusive. So does that include like transportation to the medical appointment?
Great question. So your price is basically all inclusive, but it's all inclusive to the service you provide inside your structure,
But
right?
not outside.
Anything, the easiest way to remember it, if it's inside your structure, it's inclusive. So it's help for their ADLs, you're cooking for them, you're cleaning for them, you're washing their clothes, you're providing the housing. All of that is included in that one price. So technically it is all inclusive. What it doesn't include paying for that person's transportation. Now, what you will do is you will arrange the transportation, right? You will find a transportation company. You will even negotiate when they're going to show up, when they're going to pick up the client, and then you let the family know that you've negotiated already. You've given them all they need to do. Here's the contact information. Call them and arrange the payment. You can even have several transportation companies that you work with, and you can give all of them to the family members. And then when the family pick one, you will tell the family that they need to make the payment. Now, the family can pay you, and then you pay the transportation company. Usually they do that if there are multiple doctor's appointments that needs to be done, and those are already established. So they'll write one check, and then you can continue to use the same transportation company, and now you can schedule that. But you're not paying out of pocket for that. The other thing I used to do is, in making sure that the resident is being cared for while they are en route to the doctor's appointment, I used to let the family member know that there is an option if you want to use my caregiver to go with your mom, and the caregiver would charge X amount per hour, and you let the family member know this is how much it will cost for that caregiver to go with your mom. And that's one way you can make sure your residents are protected while en route, because it's very sad. You find out they went to a doctor's appointment, they fell. It's just like, you don't want that to happen to them. And then now they're so afraid to go to the next doctor's appointment because it was a nightmare for them. Or they go to the doctor's appointment, they waited so long, and it's like they're wet and there's no one to take care of them. So not just arranging the transportation, but also think about the care of that resident while that resident is on their way to and from that doctor's appointment, especially if they really can't take care of themselves. Oftentimes the family member will not think about all of that, but if you bring it up like that, of course they're going to have a caregiver go with mom. And now you make sure your resident is not coming back to you injured, and you make sure also you are picking up some additional hours for your caregiver, and they will love you for it, and it's a win-win for everyone involved. You're not also paying for their doctor's visit. The family members will pay for that. You're not paying for their medication that will be delivered at your ALF. The family members will pay for that. And typically, when you pick your facility doctor, when the resident and their families come over and the resident is living at your ALF, you will explain to the resident family why they should use your facility doctor. They are not required to use your facility doctor. But if they use your facility doctor, it's a win-win for everyone involved, because imagine if you have to call a normal doctor's office and to have mom go to do their visit there, and the family member have to pay for transportation, and mom every month have to go to that place that she may not enjoy. Seniors, once they are in place, they don't want to be bothered, and she'll have to endure sitting at a doctor's appointment when the doctor can come to her, provide everything she needs, coordinate things with the family member, and they don't have to pay for transportation and all of that. It's a win-win for them to use your facility doctor, and often always they end up using the facility doctor. But what you are doing is you are connecting them with your facility doctor, and the doctor will do their introduction however they do their stuff. And your job is to make sure when something goes wrong with the medication, for example, you are notifying the doctor in the family. You're the middle in between person, but shift your mindset into educating the family member, because they don't know. They're going through this for the first time and they truly don't know. They're relying on you for education, for resources. And at some point, they trust you so much that you will know about their own health issues, their own issues that are going on with them and their families and their friends and all of that stuff. So you become almost like I don't want to say a mentor, but someone they see beyond you taking care of their mom. They see you as an individual. The marketing plan. So I think I'm gonna show you the marketing plan right quick. I will show you a couple of things that you should do. Door-to-door marketing, online presence, for example, your Facebook business pages, Instagram business pages, Google business. Make sure you take pictures and add them on there. And then those other things that I talked about. So there is a copy of this door-to-door marketing, referral partners, placement agents, digital, your website, your Instagram, Google, LinkedIn page, all of those pages, you'll be able to run ads on those, and Facebook marketing, and testimonials. So in the beginning, you may not have personal testimonials, but you may not have business testimonials, but you can have personal testimonial. For people who know you very well, add pictures and videos to everything. So in my admissions records, I have a form that give you the okay. I don't know why I can't think of the words. That authorizes you to take pictures of the residents in videos in their best moments. You'll never embarrass anybody. And share them with the family members, share them online. Have your staff, have a WhatsApp chat for your staff to share those videos with you. And then you then share them with the family members to let them know, hey, look at mom today. She's having such a good time. And it goes a long way. So all in all, the family members will be relying on you for a lot of things. And educate yourself so that you can educate them, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Yes. Any other questions? No? Okay, perfect. All right. Well, I will see you guys later. We'll talk soon. I'll see you in the next class.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Bye now.
Thank you.
You're
Bye.
welcome. Bye.